Here's the intro. The original PlayStation isn't this a beautiful picture up close? Anyway, the PlayStation 1 was released in Japan in 1994 and everywhere else in 1995, and it has a lot of games. Well, today I'm going to be looking at random ones, but not in random order because I've lost my mind and I'm reviewing a bunch of PS1 games, and I'll be doing the same for some future videos. For other consoles, I mean. Anyway, let's get started. Ape Escape. This is one of the few PS1 games that actually take full advantage of the DualShock controller. Not only that, it actually requires it. The controls do feel a little weird at first, but it's not something you can't get used to, and it can feel pretty satisfying. The main goal of the game is to catch escaped apes. Heh. Which sounds pretty simple at first, but you can get pretty creative with how you catch them. You can catch the monkeys in various ways using various gadgets, or you can just goof around like I did here. This isn't the longest game in the world, but it actually is pretty lengthy for a platformer like this. Now I know that some people are going to get turned off by this. There is backtracking. It's not the worst thing in the world though if you know what you're doing. Now if you want to take a break from the main adventure, or if you've been unlocking everything and you want more, then you got some mini games here that are actually pretty fun and have multiplayer. They're not the best thing in the world, but they're good for side content. Is this a perfect game? Nah. But what the heck even is a perfect game? But it is a pretty good one. Bugs Bunny Lost in Time. This game gives me a lot of Jersey Devil vibes. This game is kind of your basic 3D platformer. Not that that's a bad thing or anything like that, it's not really much that stands out about it. This is kind of a collectathon where you go through and collect carrots and clocks. I mean, Bugs Bunny is lost in time and it's Bugs Bunny. The controls of the game are, well, they're fine, they just could be better. And, it's not really that much for me to say about this game. You see some classic Looney Tunes characters, and the voice acting's decent. You know, that's cool. From what I've played, the game is alright. I don't know if I'd highly recommend it or not, but I haven't played the whole thing, so I guess it might be up to you to decide that. Croc II. I didn't have a recording of the original Croc, so we're going straight to Croc II. Croc II definitely has a Banjo-Tooie vibe to it. Not necessarily in a good way. I like the idea of having levels in a hub world and stuff like that, but it gets really confusing on where to go, considering most of these levels are just missions, and there's not a clear way to go. Like, seriously, the only reason you're seeing a next hub world is because I use cheats. I mean, it's not like it's impossible to get through this. I could just be dumb and I just don't read where to go. And I mean, the controls are fine. In fact, a lot of this game is a big improvement over the first game, but I like the structure of the first game better, where it's a linear level design. And I mean, I have no problem with hub worlds and all that stuff. I just don't like the setup of this game. I just couldn't get into this game, as you can tell. Maybe you'll like it better, but for me personally, I'll just stick to Croc 1. Descent. I guess I wanted a headache. Of course, the idea is cool, the controls are okay, but this is just really headache inducing. This is like if Doom moved around in Xbox 360 degrees. At least from what I played, it feels like a maze with a 360 headache-inducing... You get the idea. Apparently this was so popular it led to a couple of sequels, but I don't know if I'll be playing those. Maybe this could have worked out better as a VR game, but as it stands right now, I don't really like it that much. Duke Nukem Time to Kill. So instead of Doom or Quake, this time Duke Nukem is copying Tomb Raider. It's obviously not really a bad thing, it's just you might want to improve upon those controls while you're at it. This game has Duke going through different time periods, hence the name. I feel like this game had promise, it's just... it has that problem of not knowing where to go, similar to Croc II. And like Croc II, I used some cheats to kind of show off a little more of what this game has to offer. It's not a bad game, it just could have been better. It's a little boring in some areas, and it could have used some improvements. Gran Turismo. Oh man, that iconic music, it hits me right in the childhood. Got a lot of nostalgia for this game, or at least a demo of it. How's the game itself though? You know, the graphics are decent for the time. Let me go ahead and clarify. If you've played a realistic racer, this is no different. So if you really like realistic car racers, then you should like this game. But if you're a fan of like kart racers, you probably won't enjoy this one as much. Yeah, I myself am not a big fan of realistic racers, so that's probably why I'm crap at this game. It probably controls well if you know what you're doing, you just gotta know what you're doing. So, if you're a fan of classic realistic racers, I would say pick this one up. It's actually really cheap. Gran Turismo 2. I mean, the controls are a little improved, although a little bit too slippery. Other than having some improvements here and there and some more content, this really is kind of the same as the first. But there is one unique feature about this game that's different from the first game. That is the fact that this game has 2 discs. The one you're seeing right now is considered arcade mode. The other one is considered simulation mode. So what does it have? You know, most games would consider this career mode, but I guess they wanted to be a little more unique. While it does have a little more for whoever would like these kinds of games, it still doesn't give me much to say that I would still recommend it to those who like kart racers and ones that don't drive like realistic vehicles. Jet Moto. You know, I just don't think that we have enough racers here. We could use some more freaking racers. So Jet Moto is basically racing on an all-terrain motorcycle that floats. From my experience, the controls are kinda sloppy or a little bit, you know, not as tight. And with games like this, sometimes it can get a little confusing on where exactly you're supposed to go. I mean, yeah, there's a map that shows you, but it's not exactly a highly detailed map. I'm cutting this game a little bit of slack for its age, but I still feel like it could have been a little bit better. A little more clear on where to go. Jet Moto 2. Well, there's some slightly improved graphics, and the controls are a little better. But I feel like they went a little too light on having the reduced racers. In fact, I'm the only one here. I don't understand. Oh wait, this is time trial, isn't it? At the end of the day though, this is primarily the same game, with some improvements here and there. So if you like the first game, you'll probably like this one a little bit better. But if you don't like the first game, this one's not really going to change your mind that much. Jet Moto 3. Alright. In terms of graphics, I'm seeing a lot of improvement here. The controls are a little improved, but I think I just need to accept the fact that the physics and stuff are probably on purpose. So from what all I've played out of these 3 games, this one is probably my favorite. There's just a lot of improvements here, but honestly I'm not the biggest fan of this series overall. But if I were to recommend any of these games to someone who hasn't played any of these games before, I would say go with the third one. Rocket Power Team Rocket Rescue. Have you ever heard the word jank before? Okay, it's not quite that janky, but it definitely could have used some improvements. This is one of those games that has multiple sports, but instead of being like Rushdown where there's only 3 and they're incredibly boring, this one has a little bit of entertainment to it, and there's more than 3 sports. Oh, and the reason for the name Team Rocket Rescue is because this has to do with like saving Raymundo's store and skating around and doing all these sports. Apparently have something to do with saving it. So if you enjoy this beautifully aged show, then you might get something out of this game. But there are definitely better choices out there. Road Trip Vacation 2012. Have you ever played Twisted Metal? Well, then you probably played whatever it's called. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's not really a bad thing because it's copying a good game, but at the end of the day, it's copying a good game. But it does have something a little unique in the fact that you pick up tourists and, I don't remember what the hell they do, but they don't really change that much. So, I guess if you want something slightly different from Twisted Metal, but you still kind of want to play Twisted Metal, just don't have it be titled that, then play Road Trip Vacation 2012. But you're better off with Twisted Metal. Rugrats in Paris the Movie. Actually, this is a video game, but okay. Oh, is that how it's gonna be now? You know, I do have to say, this is a relatively quiet game. I mean, you expect some kind of excitement. Okay, I can't hear anymore. So this game is a minigame collection, and not a very good one. Even as a kid, I could tell just how janky yet boring this game was. This feels like it was trying to be the previous two PS1 Rugrats games, but had more of a licensed game feel to it. Not that Rugrats The Search for Reptar or Rugrats Studio Tour were masterpieces by any means, but they were a whole lot better than this garbage. So as you can tell, I would definitely not recommend this game, unless you're a hardcore Rugrats merch collector and you don't actually plan to play this. The Flintstones Bedrock Bowling. You know, I could be wrong here, but I don't think this is how they do it in the show. Basically, this game takes bowling and makes it very interestingly unique. And that's not a bad thing. This is actually a pretty fun game. It takes an idea like bowling and puts a very unique twist to it. And it's quite fun. The only real downside of this game, other than the aged graphics, are the sound effects. They repeat a lot, and they can get kind of annoying that way. I wouldn't really recommend this for actual bowling fans, but if you're a fan of the Flintstones and you like unique takes on existing sports games, then I would recommend this. Defender of the Crown... Wait a minute. The Three Stooges. How do I put this? I love the show. I hate this game. There, end of the review. If you thought they were going to improve from the old version that came out in 1987, well, you're funny. Nope, all they did was slightly improve the graphics and the sound, and that's about it. I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure all they actually did was take the Game Boy Advance version and blew it up for a PS1 game in 2003. So, like Rugrats in Paris, unless you're a collector of the franchise, I would say stay away from this game. Wildnine. Well, where do I start with this? This is a side-scroller, but it really feels like it should have been a fixed camera 3D game. Let me put it this way. The idea of this game is pretty cool, the way you move objects and the way you defeat enemies, but the execution is very rough. This game is really hard, and not because of clever level design. It's not a challenge. It's jank as hell. Just be sure you're taking notes of how many times I've used the word jank today. So yeah, I couldn't even get past the first level. That could be a mistake on my end, but I don't know. I just feel like this game is not going to be very good. I don't know, maybe it gets pretty amazing after the first level, but if I have a hard time and get really frustrated and lose all my lives on the first level, I feel like I probably shouldn't touch it again. And the last game on our list today, XMen Mutant Academy. It's a fighting game with X-Men characters. I don't know how else to describe this. Also, I'm pretty sure my disc had a problem where it didn't want to play the music during gameplay, so that was a thing. Anyway, this is kind of a basic fighter. It's not really bad, it's just not all that great either. It just kind of feels generic. I don't think this is really based on the 2000 X-Men movie, but it was made to kind of promote that. I mean, you do get free tickets inside when you get it. Can't wait to see that movie in 2000. But while it does feel a bit generic, it could have been a lot worse. So if you're an X-Men fan and or a fighting game fan, then you might get something out of this game. Well, that's the end of this video. Like and subscribe for more of these, although this is kind of the start of the apocalypse of me reviewing games. So there won't be that many left, but if you want to subscribe for more than the rest of these, then sure, go ahead. And you can like the video if you like it. And, well, thanks for watching.